Welcome to another episode of the Ambitious Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, Sabina Purpose Lawyer. Thank you for listening and thank you for helping me be on purpose. Okay, so today I have a story that I wanted to talk about. A few of my friends sent it to me, and so I was like, okay, I guess I need to talk about this, right? Just another example of why it's cheaper to essentially put a estate plan in place. It's cheaper and wiser ahead of time while you have the chance rather than just hoping and praying for the best. While prayer does work and it does change things, it's not enough to just, pray and hope for the best. You actually have to take some actions and make some necessary steps to ensure that your estate goes to who you want it to go to and preserve families, right? Like what I always talking about. And so this artist it's an artist who was in the news who recently passed away. He was a young, vibrant individual whom everybody seemed to love and have only great things to say about. His name is Takeoff. That's his stage name. And he was in a rap group called the Migos with his cousin, Offset, and his uncle Quavo. They were all around the same age, but that's their group, and they were loved. No one had anything bad to say about Takeoff, but unfortunately, this situation happened. He got killed in an unexpected scenario, and now his family is left to deal with his estate. And so part of the reason why the internet is upset is because his parents are fighting over his estate. So he is 28 years old. His estate was about $26 million, give or take, from what they're saying right now. He had no estate plan, no trust, no anything. No kids, not married, not in any sort of romantic relationship. So because of that, his estate will go according to state law. He lives in the state of Georgia, and in Georgia, basically the law says that if you do not have an estate plan in place, then we're going to give your estate to your wife, your spouse, or your children. And if you don't have either, then we're going to give it to your parents. And if not your parents, then your siblings, but we're dealing with his parents right now. According to state law, his parents are going to get the estate. So why the internet is mad, big mad, is because they're saying, well, allegedly, in one of Takeoff's lyrics, he says that he was raised by a single mom. And they're saying allegedly that his father was not in his life. And so because his father wasn't in his life, then he shouldn't be getting part of his estate. And the father's family are now like vocalizing their involvement in Takeoff's life, and it really doesn't matter, right? It really doesn't matter. It's going to go according to state law. So the state doesn't get into that emotional side, whether your parents were good parents or bad parents, or whether they were loving, or how much time did this parent spend with the child, how much involvement or impact did you have in the child. They don't look at any of that. That evidence is not relevant to the court. They just want to know, are you the parent or not, right? So are you the legal parent if you're legally on the birth certificate blood parent, or you're an adoptive parent? That is what they're going to do to determine they're going to look at to determine whether or not you are actually the parent. And once that's established, it's established, right? So the parents, they could argue and fight as much as they want to. It's not going to necessarily change, how the court is going to distribute his estate. Now, what is going to be part of the sort of stickiness with this matter is that they're going to have to value what his estate was. Like, what assets did he actually have? What did he own? How much is his estate, right? Because we might have a rough number now, probably based on taxes or something like that. But once they get into it and try to value, like, what is his long-term royalties going to be, right? Because his estate is based off of his artistry, his art. And so his art is music. And so music, the long-term intellectual property that is associated with music, is his copyright, and copyright is paid through royalties. And so whatever he has, as part of his ownership is going to be something that they have to figure out what it's worth. And that's going to be what sort of takes time in court. There's the legal fees, there's those evaluation fees, and the back and forth. But in terms of who's going to get his estate, it's going to be his parents. I read in some articles that he was also raised by his cousin's mother, by Offset's mother, and they were all sort of like raised like brothers. So the question is, or sort of it raises the question as to is this how he would have wanted his legacy to go, right? Would he have wanted his father, mother, whatever, to receive his estate, right? Would he have wanted his siblings or his cousin and his uncle who were raised like with him as siblings? Would he have wanted them to benefit from his estate? Are there other people? Was he in a romantic relationship that he would have wanted? All these questions really can't be answered, right? Because he's not here and he didn't have a plan, and so it's irrelevant. Right? It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter what all these things say. And yeah, maybe that's not what he would have wanted for his legacy, but this is what we're sort of left with. And so I'm actually working on a case right now that's very similar. So there's a young man who passed away. He had wasn't a multi-billion-dollar estate, but he had some assets, and his parents sort of fighting with each other on who's going to get reimbursed for what from his estate. And it really doesn't matter in that case either. They're both going to get 50% of his estate. It's all about just, settling that up, and whatever they paid for his final burial, etc., they'll get back, and then the estate will be sort of split. But I thought it was a good contrast with Takeoff situation, because that could kind of show like what two different types of plans to resolve this solution would look like, right? So with Takeoff, some of the issues right now that I'm seeing is that, one, we don't know if this is who he would have wanted to benefit from his estate. There's a lot of information being shared on the internet, and some of the family members are like, well, can we have privacy at this time? Like, we don't really want all this information put out in the streets, right? They say that Takeoff was private. He didn't really put himself out there like that, so that everyone should respect that. And so a solution for these type of things would have been a trust, right? It would have been made more sense for him to have created a trust where all his information would have been private as to what his estate is, who he's giving it to, who he's leaving it to, and how they would have benefit from it, right? So a trust would have allowed that, and would have allowed that long-term control to be able to distribute his assets and also his long-term royalties, right? That's going to be coming in over time. I'm sure there's somebody in his life he would love to benefit from that. And he could have also allowed all of these assets to really like grow in trust and be invested in trust to allow for his family to benefit from it for generations. And so that would have been an option for him. And not only that, it would have provided the privacy that was needed for his estate. And given the size of his estate, it also would have dealt with like the complexities of what he had, what he owned, like I said, royalties, and also would have been able to just not have it where it's going to take years and years to sort of figure out what the value of his estate is, and who is going to get his estate and how much they're going to get and all that good stuff. So a trust would have really resolved that, and he would have been able to dictate exactly who, how much, when they would get his estate, who would have given him that sort of flexibility, avoided court altogether. And the other thing that I wanted to highlight here is with this size of estate, right? What could have been done to avoid the taxes? And so at $26 million, if we say for argument's sake that's the amount of his estate, at least 40% of every amount, every dollar over 12.9 million, 40% of that is going to go to taxes, right? So whatever his income taxes for this year that he passed away, whatever that is, plus 40% of over 12.9 million. What do I mean? So when everyone passes away, currently right now, there is a 12.9 million exemption on the federal government level, IRS level, right? So everyone has to pay federal tax. When you pass away, you pay a death tax to the government, and that number varies. So sometimes, I should say, during the Obama administration, it went from like about 3 million to 5.5 million. Under the Trump administration, it went from 5.5 million to a graduated scale, right? And so now it's at 12.9 million, and it's supposed to sort of, I would say, sunset. There's like debates in Congress as to whether it is going to come down, if that's going to be, aggressively reduced, or if it's something that might happen during the next presidency. In any event, that 12.9 million is what it is right now. So being that he passed away now, he gets a credit of 12.9 million. So 12.9 million is going to go tax free to his family, his loved ones. And on this, because he lives in Georgia, I don't believe Georgia has an estate tax, right? So no tax on from the state, but only federal government. So now above that 12.9 million, there is like a scale of taxing that amount, but typically, let's just say for argument's sake, it's 40%. That's like almost the highest it could be. So 40% of that is going to be taxed. So they're not getting 26 million, right? They're going to get maybe the 12 and then half of whatever is above that. And so he could have planned for that, right? He could have planned to have his estate maximized to his benefit, right? Or to the benefit of whatever he wanted to benefit. So it could have been, left in charity. He could have had 12 million go to his family and then the rest go to charity. And he could have created a charity or a foundation for music or art or mental health, whatever it is that he was near and dear to his heart or he wanted to impact, he could have done that, right? And I'm pretty sure he didn't want to write a fat check to the government. So that is another strategy or another thing that to take into consideration when planning for larger estates is that you have control over tax avoidance, not paying your taxes, right? But avoiding taxes because the code is there for us to use. But if we don't plan, then we can't use it, right? And we're just left to the mercy of the default. And nobody wants to be to the mercy of the default. So that's what I was suggesting with Takeoff's plan. And obviously it could get more complex than that, but that's just like the simple breakdown of it. But in comparison to the smaller estate that I was working on, a simple will to just basically state that, hey, either I want my mom to get my estate or both my parents to just get my estate, split it equally, or any other arrangement that you would have wanted. Like sometimes people are in romantic relationships, they're not married, and so if you built a life with somebody, I'm pretty sure you would want them to receive part of your estate and not just either your parents or someone you were estranged from, right? So the bottom line is, right, that it's cheaper to plan. It gives you peace, it gives you privacy, and it keeps more money, preserves the wealth in the state and preserves the wealth for the family that then prolongs and furthers the legacy of the individual who is planning. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. I hope that breakdown was helpful so you guys understand the dynamics of these things and this particular estate. Please, if you have anyone or you have questions about this type of thing or planning or dealing with the probate aspect, this is what my firm does, the Ambitious Legacy Firm. So we'll be happy to talk to you, answer your questions, and if we're able to help you and work with you, we'd love to. If not, we'd be happy to forward you to our, a trusted professional in our network. So the information will be below in the comments. In the show notes. And don't forget my book, You're Richer Than You Think. Actually, You're Richer Than You Think. You could pick that up on Amazon. I go through all of the different, a lot of things that I talk about here, all the different aspects of estate planning and all the different tools and things that are intertwined in that, and also the mindset aspect of leaving a legacy. So if you want to pick that up, it's a good way to sort of get an understanding, and it's also a good conversation starter, right? A good place for you to start when you want to have these conversations with loved ones as to why they need to plan and for you to understand why it's important for you, right? You be the catalyst in your home, your family, your community to get people to plan and protect and preserve what they've worked so hard for to create. Because I feel like we're always like we're on this sort of hamster wheel. We're on this rat race. We want to achieve, we want to be, we want to do, we want to have, we want to get. We need to protect that, right? It's not for nothing that we've come and created things and that we've, made an impact and left a mark. Let's definitely just finish the job, right? Complete the task. So thank you for listening, and I hope that's helpful to you. Pick up the book. Also, I am going to go on break, right? So this will be the last episode of the year. And I want to, if you don't mind, to leave me a comment. Let me know what you want to hear coming in the new year. How can I, further help you? How can I further be of service? And if there's any guests that you want me to talk to, please feel free to let me know. I'll be listening, and I'll definitely take that into consideration. I appreciate you guys for listening this whole year. I appreciate you, your commitment, and just like I say every time, thank you for helping me be on purpose. I really mean it. Without you, like, this would just go on deaf ears. So thank you. I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday season, and I will see you not only next time but in the new year. Bye.